So now we are going to make chocolate fatless sponge. Okay, so this is very important to know because at times when we have to make the cakes that needs to be juicy and you want to soak it with sugar syrup kind of a cake, and when we have to add whipping cream based filling and frosting, then this is the important sponge that will be used, because we are not going to use butter sponge with whipping cream, or in cases where we are going to flavor and make mousse with the whipping cream as the base, like the cream diplomat, and then you're going to create a lot of different variations that we have learned. And we have to use fatless sponge because they are very airy and it will have the capacity to take in a lot of sugar syrup, and that ability we need to give it to the sponge to make it very light and juicy. So we could pair it with a whipping cream, and when you're going to cut and eat it, it is going to be really delicious. So we have the ingredients ready here. Fatless means there is no fat at all, there is no butter, there is no oil. So how does the cake rise? It rises from the egg white as the leavening agent here. So we do not have baking powder and we do not have baking soda, any of the leaveners as well. So there is no fat content and there is no leavening agent. So that's the magic of this particular cake. So we start with a egg white, and then sugar pairs up with egg white. So there's half of sugar that goes with egg white, and then half of sugar that goes with the yolk, and then half the corn flour to make the cake tender, and then that's cocoa powder, and then all purpose flour, and there's vanilla here. So I'm going to sift the dry ingredients together and set it aside. Now I'm going to get the yolk into one bowl and then use half of the sugar and beat it till ribbon consistency. That is very, very important. So we are going to keep on beating until we have a pale yellow. I'm going to show you what ribbon consistency is going to look like, and yolk and half of sugar. Then we are going to take another clean bowl. If it is a stainless steel bowl, it's really good. Do not use plastic bowls for whipping the egg whites. If it is a glass bowl, well and good, that is also fine. But you have to clean the bowl really well, use lemon and then wash properly. Pat it completely dry, and that is when you know that you can use that particular bowl for beating the egg whites. Otherwise, the egg whites are not going to froth up, and if you know that the egg whites and the sugar is going to be liquidy, and if it doesn't froth up and volumize, then you cannot use that batch of the egg whites. You need to trash it and then redo with a fresh measured set of ingredients, at least for the whites only. If the whites have damaged, then you have to use it again. Now, when you're going to separate the whites, you have to be sure you're not even adding a little drop of the yolk, because that little fat that goes into the egg whites is going to ruin that entire batch. So be very careful when you are separating. Okay, so finally, I'm going to fold in the whites and the yolk and then the flour, all three together in three different parts, and then I'm going to have a very beautiful voluminous batter that I'm going to divide between two 6-inch pans and then bake it. Okay, so let me keep the yolk, white, vanilla and sugar aside. I'm going to get the bowl with a sieve. Into that I'm going to add all purpose flour, into that cocoa powder, corn flour, sift it together. Now once sifted, set this aside. Just mixing to combine the corn flour, cocoa powder and all purpose flour, so it's evenly mixed up. So I'm setting this aside. As for the first step, I'm going to get bowl with a paddle attachment. I'm going to fit the paddle. Now into this bowl, I'm going to add the yolk, all the yolks. I'm going to beat this and break the yolks first, and while the beater is running, I'm going to add half of the sugar eyeball, or you could measure itself and then keep half separately. And while the yolks are getting beaten, I'm going to add the sugar a little at a time. So you're not going to beat the yolk with all the sugar added at the same time. That is going to deflate and not allow the yolk to volumize and get to the ribbon consistency, which is very important. So allowing it to run, if you are using a hand beater, you know that you need to keep beating. Add a teaspoon of the sugar, sprinkle it over, leave the spoon aside, and then keep beating for 30 seconds, and then take another teaspoon of the sugar, sprinkle it over, and then keep beating, because you're not allowed to add all the sugar at once, and that is not going to get your yolk to its maximum volume. So half of the sugar I'm just retaining for the whites. So there's still more time that I will be beating this. In the meantime, I thought I'll just open this out and then show the texture. So you can see how the yolk, the dark yellow, is just turning pale. The sugar is still not completely dissolved, okay? So, but then you can see how it just turns out to be a thick, liquid. So this I'm going to continue beating for say 3 to 4 more minutes, and then wait to show you what the ribbon consistency is going to look like. So now you can see it's just gotten even more thicker than what we saw before. I'm just going to clean the scraper so I can just take the bowl out and then show you. Okay, so you can see how light it has just become. Some part of sugar not melting is fine, it is going to melt in the oven while baking. So this is the ribbon consistency. You'll be able to pick up the batter, the yolk and the sugar, and fold it back, and it is going to fold back and forth into a ribbon. Stay there in that bowl for some time, after which it is going to disappear. So pick up, go back and forth, and it is going to fall back, stay there and show the shape of the ribbon, and then disappear in some time. Okay, so this is the consistency we are looking at for the yolk and the sugar. Now you're done with the yolk and the sugar. I'm just going to scrape down and then set it aside. Now as I move to the whites. Now the bowl is ready with the wire whisk. I'm going to fit the wire whisk into the stand mixer, add the whites into the bowl. The bowl is clean and dry, there's no water droplets. And to this I'm going to fit in the stand mixer. Allow to beat on medium high speed for about 30 seconds to about a minute until you see the egg whites alone froth up and become very foamy with a lot of bubbles. When you see that stage, that's when you need to start adding the sugar a little at a time and then form the meringue. So there's vanilla which will be added when the meringue is turning out and then running. We add the vanilla extract and then incorporate it together with the meringue. So now you can see the first step where it is just becoming frothy and a lot of air bubbles that you see on the top, and that's when you know that you need to continue beating and keep adding the sugar a little at a time, and so it's just going to become very shiny to stiff peaks. I'm going to show in between when there's soft peaks, and from there we just go on and get the stiff peaks as well. Now at this stage I am going to add the vanilla extract. So I am going to show how it looks. Okay, so it's still flowy and you can see the peaks won't stay. Okay, so which means we are just nearing soft peaks, we are not even having soft peaks yet. And so we just continue to beat and then take it to soft peaks and then to stiff peaks as well. But when you are taking it to stiff peaks, make sure you do not dry. It needs to look glossy also, and then stiff also. So let's check how it looks. We have the soft or the stiff peaks form. Now if you are going to overbeat trying to get stiff peaks, now if it is not glossy, then your sponge will be dry. So you can see the texture, it is not loose anymore. But let's check the peaks. Now you can see the peaks are just falling down, right, which means we have soft peaks. Okay, so we'll continue to beat it. Now at the stage we just need to be a little careful. Like I said, if you're going to over whip, trying to focus only on the stiff peaks, then the whites will dry and your sponge also will be dry. So just wait until you have stiff peaks, but look for the meringue to be glossy. So let's check for stiff peaks now. So it's even tougher to use the spatula around. It is shiny, it's not over whipped. So let's look for the peaks. Okay, you can see it is staying straight. Let me check back again. Okay, so the peaks are staying straight and that's what we are going to look at, and this is shiny as well. Now if you're going to beat beyond this point, then it's going to dry up. So I'm just going to stop beating the whites. Now I have the yolks beaten, whites beaten, and then the flour that is sifted. Now I need to fold all the three together. So I'm going to get another bigger bowl. So I'm going to add all these three in three parts. Okay, so I'm going to add one part of the white. And one part of the yolk. And one part of the flour, which I'm just going to sprinkle it over and not drop it in one place. And this I'm going to cut and fold and combine all of them together. And here I have to be very careful in not over beating. You just need to combine them together. Don't overfold. Just be careful. Cut and fold. Cut and fold. And now when you see the traces of whites here and there, doesn't matter. Go on to adding the second part. Second part of the dry. Break the whites. Go to the bottom because you have added three different components. So what you're not supposed to do is use your spatula and then keep mixing. That will overbeat and deflate the volume. We don't have any leaveners, right, in this recipe or in this particular technique. So the volume comes from the whites, and we've beaten the whites, giving it like enough volume, and to retain that is very important. Just going to the bottom, and while seeing bit of traces of the white, don't wait until all the white incorporates in the first and the second part itself. The final one is when it will get combined. So I'm adding the last part, which will be the entire batch. And now into this I'm going to also scrape the yolk, which is the last part. And then the flour. I'm going to fold this final time, cutting and folding and combining yolk, white and the all-purpose flour. I mean the dry ingredients, which has the all-purpose flour, corn flour and the cocoa powder. We are doing it in 3 parts to avoid over mixing. So it's a thick batter. Just break the whites. So the moment you see no traces of the whites and you have all of them combined into one color batter, then you know you have mixed it right. Okay, so beyond this point, do not mix, because you want the batter to be really thick. This is the volume to the sponge itself, and you need to retain this and not mix it. So now if you're going to continue mixing this, this is going to deflate, and if it deflates means if the batter becomes runny beyond this point, then you will lose out on the volume and the sponge will be fudgy, it won't be spongy. Okay, so now I have the cake pans ready. 2 6-inch pans are ready and prepared, which means I have buttered the pan and then lined it with the parchment paper or the butter paper, and because it is chocolate cake, the sides are also lined. Okay, now I'm going to divide this batter into both the pans. So I've emptied the batter into both the pans. I'm just going to tap it once or twice to get rid of any bigger air bubbles, and this needs to go into the preheated oven to get baked at 160 degrees Celsius, and baking time is anywhere between 25 to 30 minutes, or when a toothpick inserted into the center of the cake comes out clean. If the toothpick doesn't come out clean, if there is wet batter, then pop it back into the oven and bake every 3 minutes. Once take it out, check for the toothpick, and if the toothpick is clean, then you take it out and allow to cool in the oven rack for about 10 minutes, after which then let's see how this cake has baked out. So the cake has come out of the oven and baked so beautifully. I'm going to show you the toothpick inserted into the center is clean, and then we know the cake is baked well. And now this needs to get cling wrapped out of the oven 10-15 minutes on the wire rack, and then this needs to be cling wrapped in 2 layers and frozen. You have that lesson following this one, you will follow that, and be very sure of how you're going to wrap it and then freeze, and then we'll get to see how you're going to use this Fatless sponge in the lesson for layering it.